Hi, hello again. It's another day in lockdown and another video for the Speak Their Name Greater Manchester Suicide Memorial Quilt Group project. Today we're going to go a little bit off-piste and we're going to do something called free motion embroidery. This is really for people who've got a sewing machine, but I've come up with some cunning plans if you haven't got a sewing machine, so you can have a go just with a needle and cotton. So some inspiration for you. I've shown you this book before. This is Cass Holmes, who is a textile artist, and it's her Stitch Stories book. If you want some inspiration and want to do something quite arty, some of Cass Holmes' ideas are really quite inspirational. If you're a beginner and you enjoy it and you want to do a little bit more, this is a lovely book by Abigail Mill and it's called Applique Art. And these are simpler ideas, but you can do all sorts of things with this. It gives you loads of ideas, it gives you loads of instructions on how to do it, and at the back of the book are some templates that you can cut out to do your own thing. But there's some really beautiful pictures in there and some lovely ideas. So if you haven't got a sewing machine, you can do this by hand. But what free motion embroidery is using a picture that you already have. So you can either draw something or you can make it with collage, and then you're basically sewing over the top of it to draw the picture. The reason I love it is I'm not a great artist, and you don't need to be. It's almost like scribbling the outline, so you don't have to be neat, you don't have to be precise, and you don't need a huge amount of patience. So some of the things I've done for you to have a look at. This is using, basically you would draw a picture on just A4 paper and then you'd cut out the component parts. So on this I've drawn a garden shed, and then I've cut out each piece in a different piece of fabric. You don't have to use different pieces of fabric, you can do it all the same fabric if you like. And then I've drawn all the details on with the sewing machine. So as you can see, I've done all the little plant pots and I've done a little shed sign. And as you can see from the plant pots and the flowers, you really don't need to be precise at all. I've had a go at doing a stag's head. It's not the greatest stag's head you've ever seen. And you can see here, I haven't used loads of different fabrics on this, but the detail, the eyes and the nose and things I've added on, and you can see if you look closely, it's just a scribbled technique, so it's quite straightforward to do. If you haven't got a sewing machine, you might remember this one from the sunflower class. I've coloured this with watercolour pencils and I've sewn on the top. This is hand sewn with just normal sewing cotton, so you don't need a machine for this. So what I'm going to show you today is how to make these little butterflies, and these are really easily done. You can do them with felt tip pens, paints, watercolour pencils, whatever you want, or you could use a different fabric. And I've just done the detail on top in free motion embroidery. I've cut round the shape, and you can sew them onto your finished square with a couple of stitches, and you've got a bit of a 3D effect with it as well, so that's quite nice to do. So the first thing you need to do is you need to get a piece of plain fabric, and as you can see here, I've drawn really badly a butterfly, and I've painted it with watercolour pencils, I've splattered it, and I've let it dry, and I've ironed the cloth. So let's go over to my trusty sewing machine and I'll show you how to do a bit of free motion embroidery. Bear with me as my cameraman moves with me. Okay. Right. Just some... Oh, a couple of rules with free motion embroidery. These on your sewing machine are called feed dogs. And what a feed dog does is when you're normally sewing, they move. Can you see there? They're moving. They move backwards and forwards to push the fabric along as you're sewing. With free motion embroidery, we don't want the feed dogs to move, so you have to disengage them. I'll show you how it works on my machine. You need to look in your sewing machine manual. If you've lost your sewing machine manual, you're very naughty, but look on Google and you'll probably find out how to do it. So if you look at my machine here, at the side, there's a little button, and that's for normal sewing, and that's to drop your feed dogs. So you put it in the down position. And now if we go back to my sewing machine, you can see the feed dogs have disappeared. So when you're sewing, they won't touch your fabric. The other thing that is useful is this, and this is called a darning foot. If you haven't got a darning foot, you can buy them online. They're not wildly expensive. You probably pick one up for about £10, unless you've got a Bernina sewing machine, in which case they're horrendously expensive. They're about 30 quid. But if you're enjoying free motion embroidering, they're really useful to have, and I absolutely love mine. So you put that in place. If you haven't got a darning foot, you can actually do it without any presser foot at all. I'd really advise against this if you're not a very experienced sewer, because it is a way that a visit to A&E is on the cards, because it's quite dangerous because you can't actually see your needle clearly. But if you're confident and you've done this before, then by all means try this technique. But I would really advise getting a darning foot. So you've got your thread set up, you've got your feed dogs down, you've got your darning foot on. Some people recommend putting your piece that you're working on in an embroidery hoop. I find it really annoying and it gets in my way. So the trick is to, as you're doing it, hold your fabric quite taut, and that way you should be okay. So lower your needle, and basically what it means is, rather than sewing backwards and forwards, you no longer need your reverse button or anything like that. You can just sew all over the place. Don't worry if you have to pick it up and stop, you can always cut the loose threads. So let's have a go. It's actually really liberating doing this, and you can have some fun. You don't need to be neat, you don't need to be precise, just go at your own space. Have the stitch guide at about 2.5 to 3. You might have to fiddle with your tension a little bit, but put your needle down where you want to start. Hold your fabric, not widely temp, but with both hands like that, keeping your hands and your fingers really out of the way of your needle. I must stress that. And off you go. And I'm just working around here. As you can see, it's not neat at all. I'm going to go up the middle. And then what you do, one of the technique with free motion embroidery is go over the line a couple of times, as if you were sketching with a pencil. As you see here, I've made a mess. It's not even, but it just adds to the finished look and it makes it look quite nice. Go up again the middle. keep that tension on your fabric. And as you see, you can go backwards and forwards here to shade it in. You can do patterns, or you can zigzag. Okay, has my thread come out? Yeah, my bottom thread's come out here, so don't worry. Again, if you have to stop and start. Just pick up where you left off. As you can see, you really don't need to be precise on this. And just repeat over where you've already sewn. And we're going up to the middle. And you can just mark some designs then, however you like. On your butterfly, move over, do it to the other side. Up to the middle. Don't worry about loose threads or bits of cotton. You can snip those away when you've finished. Finished. I'm just going to go over the centerpiece again. Pull it out, snip your threads. You can take as much time as you want. This is really, so that was done in what, 2 minutes? Give it a press, it will pucker because of the nature of what you're doing. But that was really simple and quick, and you can cut it out and do what you like. As with these, if you are going to do it with fabric, what I would suggest if you're using fabric, you want to make sure that doesn't move while you're using it. You can buy some iron-on stuff called Bonder Web, which you iron onto your fabric and it sticks to one side, and then you iron the cutout piece onto your main fabric and it will glue it in place. If you haven't got that, I just used PVA glue. Use a very tiny amount, let it dry, press it, and then you'll be good to go. So you can either do it with fabric as a collage, or you can do it with something that you've coloured in, or you could do it with pencil, or you can do it by hand without a sewing machine, and you get a cute little butterfly, and you can stick them on. You can put several on together for a bit of texture. So that is free motion embroidery. If you get stuck, give me a shout. There are plenty of Facebook groups on free motion embroidery if you want loads more inspiration, but just have fun, have a go, be careful, keep your fingers out of the way, and as usual, share what you're doing with me in the Facebook group. I love seeing your work, and it's great seeing people are now starting to get their bits and pieces together and make a start. So good luck, have a good day, stay safe, bye now.